Let us pray. O God, the nations have come into your inheritance. They have defiled your holy temple. They have laid Jerusalem in ruins. They have given the bodies of your servants to the birds of the heavens for food, the flesh of your faithful to the beasts of the earth. They have poured out their blood like water all around Jerusalem, and there was no one to bury them. We have become a taunt to our neighbors, mocked and derided by those around us. How long, O Lord? Will you be angry forever? Will your jealousy burn like fire? Pour out your anger on the nations that do not know you, and on the kingdoms that do not call upon your name. For they have devoured Jacob and laid waste his habitation. Do not remember against us our former iniquities. Let your compassion come speedily to meet us, for we are brought very low. Help us, O God of our salvation, for the glory of your name. Deliver us and atone for our sins, for your name's sake. Why should the nations say, where is their God? Let the avenging of the outpoured blood of your servants be known among the nations before our eyes. Let the groans of the prisoners come before you, according to your great power. Preserve those doomed to die. Return sevenfold into the lap of our neighbors the taunts with which they have taunted you, O Lord. But we, your people, the sheep of your pasture, will give thanks to you forever. From generation to generation, we will recount your praise. Glory be to the Father, and to the Son, and to the Holy Spirit, as it was in the beginning, is now, and will be forever. Amen. Judy, thanks for keeping going when I had a brain fart.
See what we have to put up with.
It's your show now, man. I want a donut.
Hi, it's joy to be here. We're going to talk about some things that the district, passed at convention, and so some of the mission things that the district is involved in. Talk about some things that I am sort of making an emphasis, and talk about some of those. So thanks for coming down and listening to me. I know it would be much better to have a Bible study from the Reverend Doctor, but you got me instead. So thank you very much. All right. Advance the class.
You want to do that with the arrow?
You can do that with the right arrow. Yep. Okay. All right. Look at that. Mission stuff that the district's involved in. Go ahead. One more time. All right. This is the district, the convention, passed a resolution to support, and we've been doing this for the last, I don't know how long, several years anyway, several trienniums, supporting two congregations, small congregations in Chile. Pictured here is the man in the chasuble there is the newly elected bishop, Omar Quines, and the other man there is, with his arm around him, is Juan Pablo, who was the former bishop of the Lutheran Church in Chile. We are supporting them at $25,000 annually is what the district convention decided to do. These guys were at our fall pastors conference last October, and I was very impressed with them. Do you have any?
No, they were fantastic.
Yeah, they're great. Yep. So they are.
If I may interrupt, since you asked me, they not only are Lutheran on their lips, but they are literally being persecuted for it, for being traditional Orthodox Christians. Like they suffer and make us all look like a bunch of losers and chumps.
That's right. Yeah, we have it. The government isn't actively working against us here. It is in Chile. So the district supports two smaller congregations in Chile. They've had floods, they've had fires, and through it all, they remain faithful. The one congregation is in a town called Constitucion, and the other one is in my notes. Talca. The other one is in Talca. So, Quina is the other one. Constitucion is the sort of the head of where the district, the church body, that church body is located. But in Quina and Talca, we have supporting these two smaller congregations in the midst of all this government government persecution in the midst of fires and floods and all manner of things. These remains confessionally Lutheran, and I'm proud to be supporting them. They are fantastic. So if all of this, like I said, I'm telling you all the ways that you can send your money to the district. So if you would like to send as I go through all of this, you're like, yes, I want to support that. Just write a check to the district with designated to a particular mission project that the district is involved in. All right, next is Christ Care for Children Kenya, Project 24. The district has been involved in this for a long, long time. In fact, Pastor Bernie Setter was one of the guys who got this going, along with Bob Worrell, Roger Weinlater. Project 24 the goal is to build 24 boarding houses in Kenya, working with the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Kenya. Now, at these boarding facilities, the kids aren't there all the time, but when they are there, they receive education, and they also receive catechesis. There's all kinds of, you can find videos on YouTube of Kenyan children at one of these boarding facilities singing the small catechism. So they are being taught to be Lutheran. And like I said, the other aspect of that is education. In Kenya, it is not a guarantee that you can go to high school. It is not a guarantee that you can go to college or even to vocational training. You have to, 1, test into that, and 2, pay for it yourself. So what these boarding facilities do is educate the children there so that they are put in the best possible position possible to test into high school, to test into college if they're really academically if they really have academic acumen, or at least into vocational training. So that's one of the key aspects of this, is to help provide these children not just with the gospel, but also with education, so that they can do well in these tests to test into high school and so forth. There is a bit of an issue right now with the ELCK and the LCMS, and and that is the ELCK's involvement in LWF. Now, I wrote an article about this in, I forgot, May or June. I don't know if you get the Lutheran Witness in the North Dakota section. I have an article every month. The LWF is right now they call it a fellowship of churches who would be like what we might think of as the ELCA. Women's ordination, trans issues, LGBTQ plus side, whatever. The LWF is involved and encourages all that kind of stuff. The ELCK is in fellowship with the LWF. And the reason for the ELCK is in fellowship with them, and I want to make very clear, is not because of a theological agreement, but rather the LWF provides money to the Evangelical Lutheran Church in Kenya. And what that money is used for in the ELCK is scholarship money for kids who do test into high school, college, vocational training. The money that the LWF, Lutheran World Federation, provides is scholarship money for kids to pay for those things. So it's the ELCK is sort of entangled in this. There is, what is it? It's the 17th. I think it's next week. There is a contingent of Lutheran Church Missouri Synods from church relations and such going to a conference in Kenya, where all the church workers, all the pastors, all the deacons are going to be there. And part of the presentation that the Synod church relations people are going to make is that this is not good. This is not good for you to be involved in this. Now, to be fair to the ELCK, when they did join It wasn't. The fellowship language wasn't used. It was just, I forgot what the exact word was, but it was a group, a gathering. So it wasn't a fellowship. It wasn't a doctrinal fellowship. But the ELCK I forget what year it was. I believe it was in the 90s. Changed their constitution to all the member churches are in fellowship. So now we have this sort of weird triangular fellowship with, we are in fellowship with the ELCK. The ELCK is in fellowship with the LWF. And so the Synod is trying to address this. And there was a resolution passed at the district convention that directs me to, at every spring conference, to give an update. So that's what the update right now is. That there is going to be a conference happening, I believe, next week. I forgot to look at the exact dates, where Reverend Fries and others are going to go down there and present to the whole, all the pastors, all the church workers of the ELCK. So my prayer is that this would be resolved. Yeah.
So on the Project 24, are we still partnering with Minnesota North on that? Wasn't that initially how that?
Yeah, it was. It was a partner with Minnesota North. And to answer your question, I think so. I haven't talked with Pastor Finner or President Finner about that, but I believe that we still are working with them.
And secondly, Project 24 is that group, us in Minnesota North, made this and started this and are trying to move this forward. So this is not a Missouri Synod thing. This is us.
This was started in, you're absolutely right. This was started in North Dakota and Minnesota North. And I am not, to answer your question, I guess I don't know. I'm going to play this card. I'm the new guy. so to answer, I don't have a good answer for you. I'm assuming that we're still working with Minnesota North, but I don't know the right answer to it. Anything else? And if you have a question or comment, please just shoot up your hand.
Over here.
Yes.
I believe that the Project 24 thing, while it started as our Synod, has sort of absorbed it. So we and Minnesota North contribute pretty heavily to it financially, as far as I know.
Yep.
But the ownership has gotten broader. And so this is why the LCMS is addressing some of these issues. And I think it's important to note that Project 24 is an independent thing from the ELCK.
Yes.
It's not under their authority. And so while related, is distinct. Which I didn't realize that until we had the Project 24 guy come and some other guys from Kenya. And I just straight up asked them, like, are you guys with the ELCK? And they're like, nope, we are not.
Yeah, they have ELCK people and pastors involved.
They have the folks that help out. As organizations, they are separate.
That's right. And so and you're right about Synod kind of absorbing this. So when the district, for example, sends a check, we don't send checks directly to the ELCK. Or Project 24. The district sends our checks to the Synod, who then sends it to the ELCK. And part of the reason for that is so that the Synod can have oversight to make sure that the money is being used appropriately. So that would be very difficult for us to do, to be over in Kenya making sure that dollars are actually going to where they're supposed to go. So the Synod takes care of that. And I'm told that as far as mission projects, Project 24 at the Synod level has more employees dedicated to it than most any other, if I remember right. Should be not. All right. Of course, the camp. Did you go up to be pastor the week up there?
I didn't. I couldn't make it work this summer.
Yeah. The camp up there provides opportunities for all sorts of different camps. Archery camp, horse camp. I mean, there's all sorts of different camps.
Chess camp for people like you.
Me?
Yeah, you don't need archery or horses. You like chess, right?
I play chess at a very basic level. I know what the pieces do. So I have all kinds of camp for kids, but also they have the camping opportunities for anyone. They have a chapel there, so they are working to both catechize, to provide an opportunity for people to enjoy God's creation. Also, there's a chapel there for chapel services and the like. This is right now was voted on to convention to the district has not supported the greatest dollar amount that the district has ever supported Shepherd's Hill happened at the last convention. So if it's $10,000 a year that the district is providing. Now, unlike ELCK, the district writes a check directly to Shepherd's Hill. So just for oversight, making sure dollars are spent wisely and appropriately, Shepherd's Hill is supposed to send quarterly statements to the board of directors, just for oversight.
So, just so everybody's aware, Shepherd Hill at the crossroads is not the district's camp.
Correct. Yeah.
It is its own organization, and we help support it financially, with the resolution. But otherwise, they're not in our income and expenses.
That's exactly right.
It's a donation to them. They manage their own money.
Right.
They have their own board of directors.
Right. That's exactly right. The Shepherd's Hill is it's called a recognized service organization of the LCMS. The camp, you're absolutely right, and thanks for pointing it out. The camp is not property of the district. The district doesn't own stuff up there in Shepherd's Hill. The district doesn't pay its employees directly. They're their own organization. So, I mean, if you wanted to, you could send money directly to them. So, yes, thank you for pointing that out. It's nice to have a fellow board of directors keeping on.
Well, and this was brought up at the board of directors that there's some misunderstanding out there, and some people are blaming the district for things that happen at the camp, and we have no control.
We don't have control. Yeah. So if there's maintenance issues, if there's anything that might go wrong at the camp, the district is not responsible for any of it. The district sends $10,000 a year up to the camp, and that's about as far as the district is concerned, at the district level is kind of where the partnership, that's as far as the partnership goes. So, but Laura, she's doing the best, she's doing well, she's fantastic up there. Laura Woodruff is the camp director. And so if you're interested in sending your kids up to, we're kind of on the opposite end of the state. Has any of you been to Shepherd's Hill up there? It's up by St. John.
And I just want to point out, as Dee Schaefer reminded us at a recent voters meeting, our church years ago resolved to give kids their tuition to go to Bible camp. So if a family can't afford it, we pay for it as a church. So if you got kids or grandkids that want to go to Lutheran Bible camp, we got monies, set aside for such things, is what I'm saying.
All right, let's talk about LFS. Lutheran Family Service. The resolution was presented to the convention, and the money portion was taken out. So Lutheran Family, and I have not talked to anyone who hasn't spoken glowingly about what Lutheran Family Service does. They provide counseling service, they provide adoption services, and things like that. Now, I will say, and be very hastily say, Lutheran Family Service is different, very different, from Lutheran Family Services. So one is, I believe, like an ELCK or ELCA kind of driven. One is a recognized service organization. So the one that is singular, the service that is singular, that's what we're involved in. Okay. Now, someone asked us. I said that down in pointed that out down in Ellendale a few weeks ago, and someone said, "Why?" It's a good question. Now, the only answer I have for you is poorly planned marketing. But Lutheran Family Service is ours. They do wonderful work. The district funding LFS was amended out. So it's was a little bit ambiguous as what level the district is involved with for LFS. But the district will definitely or the board of directors can definitely be used as a pass, or the district can definitely be used as a pass-through. So if you'd like to send money to LFS and don't know where else to send it, you can send it to the district. But LFS in the memo or a note that is supposed to go to LFS, we will pass that along to them.
Maybe a little overview if anybody doesn't know what LFS is.
Yeah, this is an organization that is originated in Iowa. It was I don't know, I forgot if it was Iowa West or Iowa East, or if it was a joint venture. I think it was both. It might be both with Iowa. And now LFS is looking towards to partner with other districts. So, for example, South Dakota is involved with South Dakota District is involved with LFS, and there are a number of other districts that pay for LFS to have their services available in the district. Now, from what I understand right now in North Dakota, you can get a telehealth. You can speak to a therapist, for example, via telehealth. And I believe I'm speaking correctly when I say that's the case. So they are kind of in North Dakota. The goal of LFS is to have a presence, an office in the North Dakota district. But like I said, the district isn't funding any of it. That was vetted out at the convention. So now they're relying on private donors to accomplish this. So that North Dakota would have in-person flesh and blood counselors and therapists and or even adoption services in the state. Yeah.
So a little history on that.
I didn't answer correctly.
South Dakota,
Most of us don't, Mark.
I didn't give him what he wanted. Go ahead, Marty.
South Dakota actually as a district initiated and paid funding to bring LFS in quicker,
Yeah.
get an office and people on the ground, and then over time, the district's involvement is to be lessened as the individuals support it and they actually get clients and customers and that kind of thing, people they help to overtake a bunch of it. But the transition portion is very expensive with very little involvement, that they can make income yet until they get established. And this has been a contentious issue in the board of directors and in the North Dakota district, whether we are to spend any money with them or not. And we had a funding portion in the resolution, and the convention told us we are to do all of these things and then gave us no money to do it. And so we're relying basically on congregations and individuals to try to help support them, and LFS said they will move forward at the pace that funding allows. So it could have been a lot quicker, but it is what it is.
Marty, would you mind traveling with me from congregation to fill in all the dots, all the colors that I miss?
You can't have them.
Speak.
Go ahead.
Thank you. One thing that LFS did do is they provided to all of us pastors a vetted list of counselors that meet their criteria who are currently operating in North Dakota, which I have to say is actually a pretty handy little resource, and I've distributed it to a few people who've looked for counseling. The problem is, of course, they're all in Fargo and Bismarck and Minot, but it's a place to start. So if you or someone you know would like a counselor who's been vetted by a Lutheran organization, I have that resource available. And it's that nice little list. They even laminated it for me.
I'm glad you cleared that up, because when you said they gave you a list of counselors, I thought it was for you.
They've been trying to get me to go for years, and I'm just...
So it is mental health services and adoption?
Correct.
Okay.
Yeah, they unlike Lutheran, you remember Lutheran social services that used to be in the district and then went super left wing? And then we got out of them, and then they totally torpedoed. They have learned from this, and I think that's why they're not doing like low-income housing and refugee resettlement, because those things are such financial albatrosses that it sunk a long-standing multi-million-dollar organization. That's why they went bankrupt. They lost all their money on housing projects for low-income people and immigration stuff. So that's a good way to go broke, I guess.
Right next. We being the district and at convention level have created a fund for struggling congregations for acute situations that happen. I think particularly thinking of maintenance issues. So a roof needs new shingles, or a furnace goes out, or there's plumbing issues, or something like that. That a smaller congregation would have difficulty funding that repair or replacement on their own. So at the convention's direction, there has been a fund set up for when such things happen, and there's an application process that's been created. Right now, there is one congregation kind of applying. They're maybe waiting for a little bit. This is, and I think the seed money from this was, and I think this is kind of poetic. The church in Fairmont closed, and they sold their property, and that property, the funds from that sale of property was given to the district, and so the seed money that started this fund was from a congregation that closed, which I think is a bit poetic, so that other congregations would be kept from closing because they need a new roof, or they need a new furnace, or something like that. So, if you'd like to contribute to this, district would receive your money, then that would go right towards.
If you have any questions about how that works, I chaired the task force to put together the application process. So I think it's a great thing. This is my personal baby. I helped make the overture that went to the district because we got to take care of our small churches. You know, there's a lot of them, and if it comes down to a church closing because their furnace went out, that's stupid, right? And so we need to help our brothers and sisters in Christ keep the gospel in their communities if we can.
So when a church closes, is every church different? Does the synod own all the churches?
No.
The district?
No,
They don't.
No.
the congregation
Like
owns it.
Lamar closed.
They
What
sold their
happened?
property, and the voters decided where that money was to go.
Okay.
I've asked are they any former? No, Delia left and Kathy's gone. And anyways, they voted on what to do with the money, but I never heard the results of the vote, and I never heard that it was all disposed of. And I've asked them, and they're not quite sure if they're not. Anyways, I haven't heard exactly what they did with it. Is what I'm trying to say. So, I don't know. I guess it's not really my business since it was their church, but.
And sometimes that's directed in the Constitution too.
It's kind of interesting. The district should maybe have a policy when a church closes, they at least take down the Missouri Synod cross sign in the front of the apartment house.
That, just so you know, that man has been advised of this a few times. I've called him and talked to him on behalf of the district a few times. And it's at the point now where I think I'm going to have Jason help me draft a really formal-looking letter, to send to him. Because if you put a lawyer's name on the bottom, then people act, right?
Right.
Just tell me about this.
You're not going to show up with
The church in-
chainsaws and torches and stuff.
No,
and
the
take
church
care
in
of it.
Lemoore still has the LCMS logo cross on the sign. They cut off the part that said Trinity English Lutheran Church. Now it just says Trinity, like that's the apartment building, but they left the cross on the sign.
Oh, so
And so since that is a proprietary
that
trademark,
is a legal issue, yeah.
yeah, and so I've just been trying to help him do that. And I thought I told you about this. Anyways, I've been calling him trying to get him to take it down. He hasn't yet, so anyway, we'll talk later.
That's a legal issue. In fact, if you wanted, like when one of my previous churches, St. Paul, they wanted to make a new sign, we had to call Synod to get permission to use the logo on the new sign. Yeah.
Well, the sad part of it, I'm not really sure how that sign is set up, but it would be nice if it could be taken down so somebody else could use it.
Unfortunately, it got sold with the building,
Well, sure.
and that's a whole other discussion for another day.
So the church in an apartment building?
Yes. That's a whole other thing I don't want to get into right
Yeah.
now, because I have very strong feelings about that.
That's better than what happened at Fairmont.
Yeah, it's better than what happened.
Remember, you're the new guy.
All right. So thus things that the district is convention told us what to do. These are three things that I want to make a priority and for the district to start thinking about, and namely catechesis, rural ministry, and preaching stations. I think that these three items are very pertinent to the North Dakota District's situation. Good. The catechesis, of course, is pertinent to everyone. Everyone should be catechized. And when I say catechesis, I'm thinking particularly of the Book of Concord. That my encouragement is that every circuit and every parish at least has a Book of Concord study, confession study. I would bet that in your constitution, this congregation gives its hearty amen to the Book of Concord. So I think it would be good if you knew exactly what we confess. And that way, what?
It's obvious. I don't know why nobody does it. Sorry. Well, we say we believe it in our Constitution, and then you don't read it, so how are you supposed to actually enforce that, Like, that just...
Enforce the Constitution?
Yeah, if you don't actually know what your confession of faith is. Like, it's obvious, That's why it made me giggle. I have a terrible sense of humor. Please go on.
Quiet in the sidelines.
We call it rabbit holes.
It's got a box, special box underneath.
Yeah, there's my soapbox down there if you need it. You can stand on it.
Oh, I see that.
He doesn't need it. You're the one that needs it.
Well, between us two, who'll be more likely to go on a rant in the soapbox? The soapbox rant. Probably not be me. Sorry, we've known each other a long time. Our relationship is such that we can bring each other.
I should be nice to you when you're doing official district. Continue on, Mr. President.
What was I? Oh yeah, as part of this, what I'd like to do, and this is going to be a multi-year project, is to produce some kind of study guide for each of the documents contained within the Book of Concord. So, for example, starting with the creeds, the confession, or the Augsburg Confession, the apology, and so forth. I mean, and especially when you get to the Formula of Concord, we're the Marcians, we're the Pelagians, so that there's a background in who these people are and what we're condemning. With these heretics, for example, and what the positive things, the nuances of the positive things that we are confessing. This is going to be a multi-year project. It hasn't got off the ground yet, but for now, if you don't have a Book of Concord, I think CPH has them fairly reasonable. And if there is a confession study available to you, I recommend that you go.
There's one at each table.
Oh,
Our confession study is the second Sunday of the month in the afternoon, and we rotate between Edgeley, Forbes, Ellendale, and Oaks.
right. I will go back to my office, put a gold star.
That's all I need.
It's nice somebody strokes it once in a while.
All right. Next, rural ministry. And by the way, this is one of my former churches. This is St. Paul, rural St. Thomas. If you haven't noticed, there are a lot of rural congregations in North Dakota. Pastor Brademeyer, he's part of the rural task force, and they have been talking about various ideas. We talked about some things at the Circuit Visitors meeting last week. What did you talk about at the rural task force? Do you want to just fill us in there?
Well, we're going to do a presentation. What did you give us? An hour and a half?
An hour and a half.
There's two things we want to start talking about and giving some initial ideas to. By the way, all you fine lay people, if you have ideas for how we can fix things, please talk to me about it so I can pass it on to task force. And honestly, if any of you are really passionate about this and want to sit in on those meetings, I might be able to twist the arm of the chairman because it's Pastor Preuss and I can twist his arm. But the two things that we talked about, number one is finding ways to solve for having large amounts of churches that are too small to share a pastor, or even like 2 or 3. Like we're getting to the point where you need 4, 5, 6 churches to share a pastor's salary. So we want to solve for that. So some of that's going to be, hard conversations about maybe this church needs to close because there's 3 churches within a 15-minute window of there, right? Maybe it's, what if we had a bigger church? And like Oaks is big enough to do this, I think, but we're not in the right place with the churches around us. But like Jamestown, for example, all the churches north of Jamestown are pretty small, and Jamestown's a relatively large congregation. So what if they had a couple pastors there, and then one of the pastors was sort of like quarter time at Jamestown, and was 3/4 time at all these little churches, or something like that, right? So this is what they call the hub model. You have a larger centralish, and central is not necessarily geographically central, but it's kind of the home base for the church or for the pastors. And then we have all these other churches become like preaching stations. So they still get Sunday services, but if you want to have, Wednesday night, whatever, or Good Friday service, you got to go to the big mother church for that. Or confirmation class would be at the big mother church, that kind of a thing. We've talked about having like circuit riders, that the churches in a circuit would collectively call a guy to serve underserved areas in the circuit, or set up preaching stations in underserved areas, this kind of thing. I mean, we've kicked around a lot of ideas. So, if you think, or even the district would have maybe a couple circuit riders. I don't know.
Yeah.
We've kicked around a lot of ideas. And so the thing is, I don't think there's one right solution in every place. We just want to get some of the ideas out there, fleshed out. This is how it would work, so that a circuit, a group of churches, a local congregation can kind of pick from the options and make something work. Because the end goal of all of this is we want as many communities in North Dakota to have word and sacrament, faithful ministry at their towns, right? We don't want to see churches close. Because if the church has enough people that you're going to get together on Sunday morning and need a service, then I think we should do everything we can to have a service there. If it means we lose some buildings, but the people still meet in homes, that's great. Because the more important thing is the Word of God, not church structures. You know what I mean? So these are all the kinds of things we're talking about. And a big part of this is trying to shift the culture of our district, because up to this point we've been very focused on our own individual congregations, and we need to train all of ourselves, pastors and congregations, to think of this as a we're all in this together kind of a thing, that we all want to help each other. And it's weird because the Bible kind of actually talks that way. It's weird, right?
Yeah.
Tom? Sorry, I didn't call on Tom. I'm used to calling on Tom.
Well, at a district level, I would think that would be a priority, because the district is taking mission money and trying to find sheep in Kenya, and we're not feeding the sheep that we already have.
Yeah.
And I would think if you had, as your bigger congregations, if you had a fund specifically designed for that, you could get money from your bigger churches, I think.
Go to the next slide. Yeah. I 100% agree with you. Yeah, this is kind of another idea that's sort of penciled in, it's collected for the saints. As Paul went throughout his missionary journey and collected money for the saints in Jerusalem, this is the thought idea for this is exactly what you're talking about, is larger congregations with mission money to spend, to think about missions not just being in Chile or Kenya, as important as those are, but that there is mission opportunities, the gospel to be proclaimed, the sacraments to be distributed right here in North Dakota. So I think you're exactly right, is to have a mind, to inculcate a different mindset amongst our congregations and pastors, that we're not, each congregation is not an island unto itself. You have brothers and sisters locally in your backyard in North Dakota who are wondering how long they're going to be able to receive the gifts in that place. And like Pastor Rademeyer said, what's old is now new. It used to be circuit riders were a normal thing. A guy would go on his horse and he would go to hit different congregations in the snow and weather. And now we have cars.
But it's kind of like bell-bottom pants, you wait long enough, they'll come back around, you know?
Well, we spent quite a bit of time at the board of directors talking about how many horses we're gonna provide.
Yeah, right.
Just let him drive a Mustang.
Yeah, I think that this wasn't planned necessarily, but it works out so well in this regard that at the pastors' conference this fall, the World Task Force Ministry is going to be given at least an hour and a half, if not more, because this is something that we should have been talking about for a while, but we're going to talk about it now. And the presenter is going to be Pastor Zelwyn Heidi, who likes to spend his time diving into the history of the North Dakota District. And he's going to be presenting. In fact, he was just at, when he went to St. Louis, not knowing if he would be reimbursed or not, to go to Concordia Concordia Historical Institute, and to look into dive even deeper into the North Dakota District's history. And so he is going to be presenting, and I told him that what I want you to do is to show every pastor just how lazy he actually is. Because we don't have to get on horses and drive and ride a horse through a snowstorm to this rural congregation. We can get in the car and drive with all-wheel drive and four-wheel drive and cut right through.
Heaters.
Heaters, yeah.
The first pastor in the Oaks here was a guy named August Munt. And this dude was what the kids would call a Giga Chad. The guy had like 13 churches and preaching stations that he served on horseback. I think he was the guy that Pastor Heidi was talking about that wanted to go to a church. He was in Fergus Falls. He wanted to go to a church like down by Wapaton, which doesn't exist anymore. And he was supposed to be there for a service, and it was blizzarding. And he couldn't find anyone to give him a horse, so he just took off like on a mule. And then the mule got like too tired, so he dropped the mule off at a family, to take care of. And he kept walking. And like as he walked, it was like sleeting, and his overcoat got froze around him, and he just lay down in the snowbank and thought he was going to die. And someone just happened along with a slave who happened to be a church member. He stopped at a house, and people wouldn't let him in to warm up, And I mean, this is what this guy did to make sure these German folk had the gospel. Wow. And then we all whine about, I have to drive. So anyways, I feel like a loser every time I hear about him, is what I'm saying.
Yeah.
Of course, he also burned out after like 3 years and had to move down south because he got health problems.
That's
and
true.
all that. But,
Yeah. That is the extreme, for sure. But this is, circuit riders or hub and spoke model. I mean, I think that these are something that we need to start thinking about. And like Pastor Brownmeyer said, what fits in one place may not be the best option in another place. But what we need to start thinking about is these rural congregations and how we as a district, lay and clergy alike, can start thinking about the mission opportunities here. Like I said, we're supporting 2 small congregations in Kena and Talca, Chile. And I'm not saying we shouldn't, but we have small congregations here too. So, all right, next. I think this kind of this is sort of related in that as these circuit riders are going from church to church, what also are they doing? They were starting preaching stations. So again, this we just started talking. Well, Pastor Brad Marsh, he's doing a preaching station in Lemoore. Pastor Preuss is doing a preaching station in Valley City. And this is just how churches were started. And you can disagree with me on this, and that I will accept your disagreement, and that's perfectly fine. My opinion is that the best way to start churches is not for the district to call somebody and tell him, you go there and start a church. Because there's all this investment, all this money that's involved in paying this guy to go do this with the expectation that he's going to start a thriving church.
We tried that too.
We tried that.
It did not work.
It did not work. And I know for 2 reasons. One is just the practical reason that there's a whole bunch of capital being put in this. There's a lot of risk being put into this by paying a guy salary and benefits to go start a church. The other one is a bit theological, is that he doesn't have an altar. Called to what? called to the district. I mean, what does that mean? Preaching stations, however, are the sort of mother congregation, daughter congregation. This is the way these circuit riders would start churches, with preaching stations. So Pastor Brademeyer is called to this church. This is his pulpit and altar. He was gracious enough to give me his pulpit today. But when he goes to Lemoore, it's sort of like a shut-in visit. He's taking that pulpit and altar with him to Lemoore. Likewise, Pastor Croix to Valley City. And so, I think the theological question is resolved in that Pastor Brademeyer has a call to an altar, to a pulpit. Likewise, Pastor Preuss. So when they go to these preaching stations, they go with that call, that vocation as pastor in a congregation. The second, more practical reason I think is result too, because based in comparison to calling a guy, paying him full salary and benefits to say go over there and start a congregation. I mean, how much money how much capital is involved in starting a preaching station?
About $10 a month for bulletins.
Yeah, that's about it.
I go to Lemoore anyway to visit shut-ins, so there's no extra mileage.
Right. So you don't send a guy to hither, and you pay the guy to go hither and yon and say go start a church. And he's under all kinds of pressure to make this thing go. Whereas preaching stations, you start a preaching station here, you start a preaching. Okay, so I'd love to have, say, just pulling out a number out of the air. Say we have, say, 6 to 8 preaching stations. And if God grants growth to 1 or 2 of them, God be praised. And if the other 4 or 5 don't make it, then that money is still available to maybe put that towards other preaching stations or somewhere else. So there's not all this capital being poured into having a guy told to go over there and start a church. In fact, since I have been here, I've been in the district now 15 years. We haven't started a church since I've been here, a new congregation since I've been here. And I don't know, shame on us. I think one of the best ways to do this is a preaching station, and if God grants growth, the Lord be praised. If He doesn't grant growth, the Lord be praised. So I'm very much encouraging congregations to think about preaching station opportunities, in their area. As the rural the populations and demographics of rural North Dakota are decreasing. Let me tell you, I tried to buy a house in the Fargo area. It was difficult because there's a ton of people wanting to move to the Fargo area. I think it would be awesome to have a preaching station in Castleton, or Kindred, or South Grand Forks, Thompson, just to name a couple.
Emmanuel was going to start a second congregation, and then COVID hit.
Yeah. Well, I haven't had this conversation with them yet, but there are even in Grand Forks, it wouldn't be all that difficult for someone in Fargo to run up to Thompson to do it. So yeah.
Just a question: does the district have? You see this a lot. You have a church, a rural church that's been there for 40, 50 years, and the people that attend that church basically start to worship the church.
Yeah.
So if you have a Missouri Synod church, because I know we have one in our community, that they don't care who stands in front of them to preach, just so long as that church stays open.
Yeah, that is a danger.
So do you guys have guidelines as far as the Missouri Synod Church?
We don't have guidelines, and Pastor Brademeyer brought up having the hard conversations.
Right.
That we worship Christ, not a building.
Right.
And if it makes sense to combine 2 congregations, then the desire should be for the Lord's gifts, not for this building of wood, as much as the Lord has done there and fed these sheep in that place. to keep going just to keep it going.
Well, but
Yeah.
in those instances too, if the church needs a new roof, they put a new roof on.
Yeah.
If the church needs this, they do that. They
Yeah.
put new steps in the front. They keep the church just immaculate.
Yeah.
But they have somebody that is teaching a false doctrine up in front of them.
And they won't pay for the pastor to be permanent.
Exactly. It's human nature. I guess.
Oh yeah, it is. I mean, our hearts are idol factories, and because
That's a John Calvin quote.
Idol factory.
I'm exposed.
Yep.
Blasphemy, heresy.
Yeah. Sorry, I'm kind of reading from the Calvinist. What was I going to say?
Te absolvo.
Oh yeah, that's right. Okay, one of the, I mean, and I understand this. I'm from a little church in Hardin, Montana. I was just there. I remember that they, my time there, being confirmed, they're baptized there.
Yeah.
And so a lot of these memories and the big events in your life and the life of your loved ones are all connected to the church. So mom died and was buried out of, this congregation. I was baptized. So I understand the connection to the church building. But you are right that we can't let a love for a congregation be more than a love for the Lord and His gifts. That makes sense?
Absolutely.
Yeah. All right.
Can I just realized one thing the Rural Ministry Task Force was tasked to do from the district. Well, the board of directors was given this to do, or you or somebody was, but it got dumped on the Rural Task Force,
That's what I do.
which is to come up with a policy for closing churches, like how to decide if you need to close or not, right? And that's part of the conversation is, you could stay open if you didn't have this albatross, which is this decaying old building that costs $1 million a year to heat because when they built it in 1920, they didn't put insulation in the walls, And then the other thing is a procedure for closing a church so that when it's disposed of, people don't go by and be horrified by the use of sacred items by non-sacred things.
Yeah.
You know?
At the very least, everything should be taken out. The art, the stained glass, even everything should be taken out at the very least.
I like the burn it down.
That's a
way
great
of disposing of it.
Well, I mean, one of the ways you okay. So we have when the VFW, what's when they take flags and they dispose of flags? What's the actual real term? The Legion. I'm sorry, the Legion. They dispose of flags. I forgot, they have a special name for it. I forgot what that is. Just a disposal of flags. What do?
I think it's called retirement.
They retire the flags. Yes, thank you. When they retire flags, what do? How do they burn them? Yeah, in a reverent kind of way. And I think that's people like had the question. I'm sure Pastor Brademeyer has had the question. What do you do with an old Bible that's falling apart? I think one of the options is to, as reverently as you can, either bury it or burn it. And I mean, I think that's one option, is give thanks for the good that the Lord has done in this place. And sort of like the Legion, retire this building. I mean, yeah. So yeah, there's the Rural Task Force going to be working on this. I think in the guidebook, we set up a guidebook. I think it's full of good stuff. You might want to look there too. You might want to amend that. There's stuff missing. But
You got one slide left. I'm not going to fix your computer.
that's great. Then my next slide is just questions. So we don't have to put that up. Yeah.
I want forgiveness for my sinful nature up front. Missions. I'm not against it, but kind of with your initial opening here, Chile and Kenya talk about persecution. Seems like we take out an American mindset, build it and they'll come.
Mm-hmm.
So we build the church, I don't have a solution, I'm not saying right or wrong, but it's real easy for the people on their Jeeps and their machine guns to know where to go shoot somebody when it's 9 o'clock Sunday morning. And we don't hear those stories, and I know they go on. I like to bury my head in the sand.
Yeah.
So this build it and they'll come mentality scares me, for those people. Yeah, we want to spread the word, we want to preach, but when you're in those type of environments, is it?
Yeah, and then the persecution that they're undergoing isn't necessarily the guys on Jeeps driving around their church. The persecution is the government wanting to take their property. That's what they're facing.
Well, in Africa.
In Africa, you go. Yeah, the same is not the true in Nigeria.
Right.
Right.
Kenya is not Sudan.
Yeah,
There are some places where that's true. There are other places in Africa that aren't like that.
Yeah.
South Africa tends to be relatively safe for Christians to build churches. It's when you get toward North Africa that you start running into the Muslims, and that's where things get dicey.
Yeah, thanks. Anything else for me? Well, it was a joy to be with you.
Thank you.
Today. Thank you for your hospitality. So I know that Brad and I are going to donate. You didn't bring me one.
What?
I know you got yourself a donate. You didn't bring me one.
You guys can talk.
I can talk.
That's you.
You see what I put up with?
Hey, reality stinks sometimes.
Yeah.
Rodney Dangerfield.
What?
Needs to be like it.
Yeah.
Uh-huh.
If we didn't like you, we wouldn't pick on you like this.
All right. Well, let us pray. Our Father,
Who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, and the power, and the glory, forever and ever.